We are here today set for our adversary hearing. This is actually a reset from the original setting on March 12th. Parents appeared at that hearing and requested to apply for court-appointed attorneys. That request was granted. Parents did complete the paperwork and submitted that to the court, and I did appoint. So we're here to resume this adversary hearing. We are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties, and we are live streaming on YouTube. I do not have a court reporter this morning, at least not right at the moment, so we are recording to the Zoom cloud. If anybody needs a copy, just let me know and we'll make it available. Excuse me. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We're present, ready, Your Honor.
Stacey Grant on behalf of the, I'm sorry, Jeff.
Go ahead.
Stacey Grant on behalf of the mother, Ayan Abukar, and she is present. We're ready.
Jeff Hill on behalf of Salah Omar, the father. He's present. We're ready.
Stacey Zabala on behalf of Aaliyah.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Trout, who's your first witness?
Ms. Larson, Your Honor. And Ms. Larson, how are you employed?
With the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services.
And in what capacity?
As a child protective investigator.
And how long have you been in that role?
Over 5 years.
Are you familiar with the case we're speaking of today?
Yes.
And how are you familiar with that case?
I am the investigator assigned.
And have you been the investigator since the beginning of this case?
Yes.
How did the department become involved in this case?
We received a report from medical stating that the child was positive for marijuana at birth.
Okay. And were you able to go by the hospital?
Yes.
Did you see the child?
Yes.
And then were you able to meet with the parents?
Yes.
Who was identified as the parents?
Ayan Abukar and Salah Omar.
Okay. And were they together when you met with them?
Yes.
Did you discuss the reason for the department being involved?
Yes.
And did mom or dad admit or deny to the when you brought up the drug screen from the baby?
They did state they had been using THC pins.
Okay. Did mother state that she had used them during her pregnancy?
Yes.
Is mother and father originally from here, this area?
No.
Where were they living prior to this?
Omaha, Nebraska.
Did you discuss any other potential CPS cases or whether parents had any other children?
Yes, we did.
And what was learned from that conversation?
At first they stated their other children were in Nebraska living with the grandmother. But upon further questions, they stated the children were in the care of Nebraska CPS, but that they still had visitation with both children.
Okay. And did they state why the children were in care in Nebraska?
They said that there had been some domestic violence. That was just an argument 3 to 4 years ago.
Okay.
And that, in that, I believe the second child, she stated that she was homeless and using marijuana at the time of that removal.
Okay. So from what they told you, it seemed to be kind of the same situation as we have here.
Yes.
Okay. Did that all come from the mother or from the father?
The mother.
Okay. Did the father discuss any of those issues with you?
He just agreed with her.
Okay. But at that time they were still together, is that correct?
Yes.
Are they currently living together?
Yes.
Is there anything else going on with the parents in Potter County?
Yes.
What is that?
Dad was arrested for assault of a pregnant person in July of 2023.
Your
Your
Honor,
Honor, objection objection to foundation as to how she has that information.
All right, I'll sustain if you want to ask for some other questions, Mr. Trout.
Well, Your Honor, I would ask, sorry, give me 1 second. I would ask to admit exhibit number 3 that was sent out to all the parties, which is a certified copy of the indictment against Salah Omar for an assault of a pregnant person.
No objection?
No objection.
May I speak?
No, ma'am,
No objection.
not right now. All right, petitioners, and let's see, I'm trying to get to it, Mr. Trout. You said 3?
Yes, ma'am, exhibit number 3.
All right, petitioners, exhibit 3 will be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.
And Ms. Larson, have you seen the exhibits that I sent out?
Yes,
And have you seen exhibit number 3?
yes,
And is that the charge that you were speaking of that Mr. Omar was arrested for?
yes,
Your Honor, I'd also ask to admit exhibit number 4, which is a certified copy of the police report, bond conditions, and the bail bond of Mr. Omar from that charge.
No objection?
No objection.
No objection.
All right, petitioners, exhibit 4 will be admitted.
Thank you. Ms. Larson, have you looked at exhibit number 4?
yes,
Do you have it pulled up in front of
Yep.
you?
yes, I do.
Can you tell me what bond condition H is on that bond, on that bail bond?
Defendant may not go within 200 yards of the residence, school, or place of employment of the victim or other specifically named place.
And was mother the victim in this case,
Yes,
Ms. Abukar?
yes,
And to your knowledge, those bond conditions are still in place
yes,
and that charge is still pending.
yes,
And parents are together today, is that correct?
correct.
In violation of that bond condition?
Yes,
Your Honor, I'd also ask to admit exhibit number 1, which is a certified copy of the complaint information of a violation of a bond or protective order against Mr. Omar.
No objection?
No objection.
No objection.
I've got it back up in front of me now. Okay, petitioners, exhibit 1 will be admitted.
Ms. Larson, are you looking at that exhibit?
yes.
And what was the date of the charge on that exhibit?
August 25th, 2023.
About a month after Mr. Omar was arrested for the assault of a pregnant person.
Yes,
And Your Honor, I'd also ask to admit exhibit number 2, which is a judgment of the conviction for the violation of a bond or protective order.
No objection?
No objection.
No objection, Judge.
All right, petitioners, exhibit 2 will be admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Ms. Larson, looking at that exhibit, your understanding is that Mr. Omar, father in this case, has already been convicted of violating a bond or protective order. Is that correct?
yes,
And as you testified a while ago, he and mother are currently together right now
yes,
in violation of those bond conditions again.
correct.
Did parents drug screen for you?
Yes,
And did the results of the drug screen, were they concerning?
yes,
Were they in accordance to what parents had admitted to you? That they had used marijuana
yes,
through vape pens?
yes.
Do you know the status of the cases in Nebraska?
Yes,
And the status of which case? I think there were 2 cases
I know the status of both cases.
of both cases. And what is the status of those cases?
They were terminated on for the first child, and yesterday I witnessed a relinquishment of the second child,
And was that relinquishment by mother, father, or both parents?
just by mother.
Just
The
by
father's unknown.
Okay. So mother relinquished on one of her Nebraska cases yesterday.
Yes.
Okay, and you said you were a witness on that case?
Yes.
Did the department attempt to find family or to work with the family?
Yes.
In what ways did y'all try to do that?
We did talk to the family members that were provided to us by the couple.
Okay, and who were those family members?
The first one was Mr. Salim, who they identified as paternal grandfather. However, he stated he was mom's family, but he could not take the child.
And why was that?
He said he already had 6 children, and so he just couldn't take care of any more.
Okay. Who else did you try to talk to? What other family members?
I did talk to the maternal grandmother.
And where does she live?
She lives in Nebraska.
And was she able to take the children, or was she willing to?
She is interested in taking the child.
Okay. And but that involves doing an ICPC and working with another state, correct?
Yes,
So that would take some time before that could happen.
correct.
Have parents been making their visits?
No,
How many visits have been set up at this time?
2 for each parent.
2 for each. And have they made any of them?
No,
After the removal, were you able to meet with the parents again?
yes.
And where did you meet with them?
1 second. After the removal, I mean, I've met with mom at the CPS office yesterday going over paperwork, and I attempted to meet with them several times at their residence to give them paperwork for the court hearing.
When you first met with mother on February 28th, did you notice anything about her?
Yes, she had a bruise. She had a black eye.
And was that there in your previous meetings with her?
No,
Did mom explain to you why she had the black eye?
she did.
And why was that?
She said she tripped and hit a door.
Due to your knowledge of prior domestic violence and the fact that they're not supposed to be together, did that give you concern?
Yes.
Do you believe that with the past history out of Nebraska, what has gone on there, and the fact that there are bond conditions for assault charge, that parents aren't supposed to be together and they are still together and disregarding those bond conditions, and the positive drug screens from the baby and the parents, do you believe?
Your Honor, objection as to leading in this question, and the question is becoming a narrative.
Well, overruled, but you might want to shorten it up.
Yes, ma'am. Do you believe it's in the best interest of the child to remove at this time?
Yes.
And where is the child placed now?
The child is currently still in NICU at the hospital.
Do we have a release date? Do we know when the child is going to be released?
The child is still not feeding well, and they are looking at putting a G button in, so there still could be some time.
Okay. Do you know what is going on with the child? Have you learned what is all going on with the child?
The child is just not feeding. Otherwise seems healthy, but not feeding. So not able to feed by mouth.
Okay. At all, or just not much?
The last that they had told me, it was only about 30% by mouth.
Okay.
So that's why they're looking at putting the button in so that she can be released eventually with that button.
Okay. And so today you're asking for the department to be granted temporary managing conservator of the child,
Yes.
and for the parents to work with the department and work services.
Yes.
And you do believe that's in the best interest of the child?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Grant?
Ma'am, do you believe that if the mother and father were living separate, that the child could be placed with the mother?
No,
And do you believe that if the mother and father were separate, that the child could be placed solely with the father?
no,
Do you believe there's any family in the vicinity that would be an appropriate placement once the child is released?
not that I've been made aware of, no.
Okay. Have you provided the parents with caregiver resource forms to complete for you?
Yes,
And have those been completed yet to your knowledge?
not to my knowledge.
Okay. Have you identified the caseworker that will be assigned to this case yet?
Yes,
And what is that caseworker's name?
Jennifer Campos.
Okay. And do you know if she's been in contact with these parents yet?
I'm not positive. I know she's seen the baby, but I'm not sure if she's been in contact with the parents.
Okay. Do you have any knowledge when the decision will be made regarding the G button?
They said this week, within the next couple days.
Okay. So were they still going to give the baby time to see if feeding would improve, or is the G button a foregone conclusion at this point?
So the baby has already been given multiple weeks, and I believe the G button is already a decision made.
Okay. So we're just waiting for that procedure to be done. The decision has been made. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is the child on any medications right now that can't be administered once released, or do you know?
Not on any medications.
Okay. And are the parents visitation, are they allowed to visit the NICU?
They are with St. Francis, yes.
And do you know what amount of visitation they're allowed to have up there at the NICU?
I believe it was 2 hours. The visits were supposed to be for 2 hours.
Okay. And those have not occurred to date, is that correct?
Correct.
Has St. Francis been available to accommodate those visits to your knowledge?
Yes. I know
And-
one of the issues was that they were not allowed to go together based on the bond. And so she was asking them for a ride. I don't know what ended up happening with that, but I know she didn't go to the visit last week.
Okay. And so if the mother does not have transportation, to your knowledge, can St. Francis assist with that?
Yes.
And if the mother does not have housing or a place to stay, if the parents separate, can St. Francis or the department assist her with possibly some women's shelter locations?
Yes.
And has that been looked into yet, as far as you know?
No.
Has that request been made by the mother, to your knowledge?
No.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Judge.
All right, thank you. And Mr. Hill?
Judge, I believe Ms. Grant covered pretty much everything I would have asked, so I don't have any questions.
All right, Ms. Zavala?
Ms. Larson, do you know, does the grandmother in Nebraska have the other two kids that were discussed?
No, she does not.
But she has indicated that she's willing to be placement for this child.
Yes.
Do you know if an ICPC has already been requested or will be requested?
I do not know if St. Francis has done that yet. So no.
And while we believe Aaliyah is going to get this G button, it hasn't happened yet, correct?
Yes.
And if that is placed, or when it is placed, then placement for her will need to be a specialized medical placement, correct?
Yes.
I believe those are all the questions that I have.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Trout, anything further of this witness?
Nothing further, Ms. Larson.
Okay, counsel, anybody have any other questions for Ms. Larson?
No, ma'am.
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
All right, then, any objection to Ms. Larson being released to go on about her day activities?
No objection.
No objection.
No,
No
ma'am.
objection.
Okay, Ms. Larson, thank you so much for your time. You are free to go at this time. Thank you. I'll call your next witness.
Thank you.
I'd call Mr. Omar.
Yes.
Okay, let me just, since the two of you are there together, Ms. Abukar, you cannot help him answer questions. You're going to need to remain silent while he is testifying. You can't try to help him or prompt him. So you need to be absolutely quiet while he is testifying. You understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. You may proceed, Mr. Trout.
Thank you, Judge.
Your Honor, may I interject and ask that the court ensure that the witness is aware of his constitutional rights against self-incrimination?
I can do that now, or I can do that when it comes up. I assume Mr. Hill would jump on that, but I will. I think let's wait till we get into an area that maybe that would be appropriate.
Okay. And I just want to be sure, Your Honor, that my client understands that remaining silent includes she cannot interpret for him, because that's one of the things that she attempts to help him with. And so I want to be sure that Ms. Abukar understands that she cannot interpret.
Okay, Ms. Abukar, you understand you have to remain completely quiet while he is testifying.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, Mr. Omar, if there's something you don't understand, you be sure and tell us that.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Omar, can you understand me?
Yes, I understand you.
Okay. What are your rights to the children in Nebraska?
What did you say?
Do you still have rights to any of the children in Nebraska?
Yes.
Were you involved in the CPS cases in Nebraska?
Yes.
And your rights are still intact, or were they terminated?
Yes, tournament.
They were
No.
terminated.
No. They're in tournament. No.
Do you get to visit the children?
No.
Are you allowed to see the children?
Yes.
When do you see the children?
Last time I seen was video. I just speak on the Zoom.
June?
Do you what?
Did you say June?
No, I just video shot, like Sam zooming. I watch only videos.
Gotcha. You only see them on Zoom.
Yes.
Okay.
And picture. I receive pictures too.
What was the reason for the removal in Nebraska?
Because no place.
No place?
Yes.
Y'all were homeless?
Yes.
Were you using drugs at that time?
Yes, that time, but not just except marijuana that time, but no other than that.
Are you aware that there are bond conditions that you are not supposed to be with the mother?
Your Honor, I'm going to object at this point, or advise my client not to answer that question and to exercise his Fifth Amendment rights.
Okay, Mr. Omar, your attorney is advising you to decline to answer that question based on your privilege against self-incrimination, which is otherwise known as your Fifth Amendment constitutional rights. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes.
And is that your desire to invoke that privilege?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Stretch, you can ask another question.
Have you been previously convicted of a violation of a bond or protective order?
No.
On August 25th of 2023, were you charged with violation of protective order?
She lied that time.
Not the question. Were you charged with that?
Yes.
Okay. And on February 21st of 2024, did you plead guilty to a violation of a bond or protective order?
Yes.
Okay. So you have been convicted of a bond or protective order?
Yes.
Okay.
But she lied.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
But she
Mr.
lied.
Mr. Omar,
Objection.
hang on, you don't get to explain. Your attorney will We'll come
Okay,
back and ask you some questions.
okay.
Just answer what's asked of you. Okay.
Okay.
All right, Ms. Grant.
No questions of this witness, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Hill.
Judge, may I have a brief breakout room with my client?
You certainly may. Let's see, where did we leave off? Mr. Hill, were you questioning?
Yes, Judge. I have no further questions for Mr. Omar.
All right, and Ms. Zavala?
I have no questions at this time.
Okay. All right, Mr. Trout, any further questions of this witness?
No further questions of this witness, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, you can call your next witness.
No further witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay, does the department rest?
Bar mode rest.
All right, Ms. Grant, any witnesses to call?
I'm not going to call any witnesses, Judge. Thank you.
Okay, so do you rest?
We do.
All right, Mr. Hill?
No witnesses, Your Honor. I'll rest.
Okay. All right, Ms. Zavala?
No witnesses, I'll rest as well.
Okay. All right, Ms. Zavala, do you have a recommendation to make today?
Yes, Your Honor, I do believe it's in Aaliyah's best interest to remain in the temporary managing conservatorship of the department.
All right, thank you. And then I find that the evidence is sufficient to name the Department of Family and Protective Services as the temporary managing conservator of the child based on finding that there would be a continuing and ongoing danger to the child to return home. At this time, with the history of domestic violence and the particular nature of the criminal issues that we've had in this case, parents are not supposed to even be together, but are obviously together and are living together. So I have great concerns about what kind of ramifications that may have for one or both of them. And the child's medical needs are appearing that they may become specialized depending on the final disposition of this G button that may be implanted into the baby. I obviously will expect the department to continue to use reasonable efforts to reunify the family. And between now and our next hearing, St. Francis will get involved and meet with parents to create service plans and go over those with them so that we can start working towards reunification in the case. And I just encourage parents to listen to the advice of their attorneys and to stay in touch with them throughout the duration of the case. Okay. Our status hearing will be April 25th of 2024, and that will be on a 9 o'clock docket. So we'll talk more about your service plans at that time. Okay, good morning.
Morning.
We're here today on our status hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We're live streaming and Ms. Taylor is making her record. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Jennifer Campos is my permanency specialist. We're present ready.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Aaliyah.
Jeff Hill on behalf of respondent father Salah Omar. Judge, I'm not sure if he's with Miss Abakar or not.
I was going to ask that very question.
She looks like she's in the hospital, unfortunately.
Yeah, okay.
So sorry. So he's actually in Potter County.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He went to court for the charge and they sentenced him to a year in Potter County.
Okay. All right, well, so that answers that question, and so Ms. Abakar is present. All right, I'm just trying to make sure. Ms. Abakar, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right, Ms. Campos, if you would like to give us an update then.
Aaliyah's doing good. She was released from the hospital. She is in a foster placement. And she seems to be doing very well. That's really all the update I have. I have not been able to meet with parents. Every time that I scheduled a meeting, something either came up. Ayan has been really sick. So all of our meetings that we were supposed to have been canceled. So that's where I'm at.
Okay. It does appear she's in the hospital. So were you aware of that?
I just found out this morning.
Okay. So you could maybe go out and check on her and see how she's doing, if there's anything she needs.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. And when was Mr. Omar incarcerated?
I don't know the exact date. It was maybe a week and a half ago. I'm not really 100% sure.
I'm pulling it up, Judge.
Okay.
Looks like date of sentence was 4/12.
So just a year in jail?
He got,
Yeah.
yes, ma'am, 1 year in Potter County Detention Center.
Okay.
That'll be 4 months, Judge, with good time. So just FYI for everybody.
Yeah.
And he had, looks like when he went in, he only had 3 days credit. So that's where he's starting from.
Okay. All right. All right. Anything further, Ms. Compass?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Abakar, is there anything you would like to talk to us about today?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, I hope you feel better soon.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Hill, anything else today?
Well, no, ma'am. I'll have to get a hold of my client and see what's going on. But I know he was willing to work services, previously. I presume when he gets back out, he'll be willing to do what he can do.
All right. Okay, Ms. Zavala?
Your Honor, Aaliyah's doing really well. She does have a G-tube, but she is feeding by mouth as well and is doing really well. She's placed in a foster home that we're familiar with, that we've had another child placed with, and feel like that'll be a great fit for her.
All right, Ms. Abakar, I just talk to you real quickly about your service plan. I understand, obviously, you're hospitalized right now, so your main focus needs to be on getting back to good health. And when you do, then the service plan will be very important. You'll need to start working on those services.
Okay.
So, Ms. Compass, certainly can assist you with getting some things set up and making sure you know what you need to do. But failure to work those services could mean that the child doesn't come home.
Okay.
And worst case scenario, it could mean termination of parental rights. So we don't want to go down that road. So once you're feeling better, you'll need to get started on your services.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I suspect Ms. Compass will be out to see you at some point in time pretty quick.
Okay.
Okay. All right, then. I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator and continue the child's current placement. Order the service plan as an order of the court. I find that there would be a continuing danger to return the child home today, and that the department will continue to use reasonable efforts to reunify the family. Our next hearing will be August 15th. We're here of 2024 hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement and consent of the parties. We are also live streaming, and Ms. Taylor is now with us and is making our record. All right, we will go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We are present and ready.
Natalie Archer for the mother, Sierra Villarreal.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Sophia.
Okay, and real quickly, I've brought in Julian Villarreal from the waiting room. I want to make sure, is Mr. Villarreal associated with this case?
My understanding, Judge, he's the ex-husband. He's not party to this case, so he has not been pled into it from our side, so I'm not sure.
I plan to call him as a witness, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, and Mr. Solis is not present. And Mr. Trout, just for the record, what's the status of service on the parties?
They were both personally served on March 18th, Your Honor.
All right, then. Who is your first witness today?
Brandy Pate, Your Honor. Ms. Pate, how are you employed?
I'm an investigator with the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services.
And how long have you been in that role?
Over 10
And
years.
how are you familiar with the case?
I'm the investigator on the case.
How did the department become involved in this case?
We received an intake on March 11th of 2024.
And why was the intake received? What was it about?
Concerns for neglectful supervision of Sophia newborn, with concerns that her mother was using cocaine and Sophia testing positive for cocaine.
Okay, and that was at the birth?
Yes.
What was your next steps? Were you able to go to the hospital?
Yes, I went to the hospital that afternoon after I received the report and talked with Miss Villarreal.
Did mom test while she was at the hospital?
She did not.
She did not. But baby was tested.
Yes.
Did you discuss the reasons for your involvement with the mother?
Yes, I did.
And was the alleged dad also there at the time, or just the mother?
Just the mother at that time.
Okay. And how did your conversation go with mother?
I told her about Sophia testing positive for cocaine and asked the circumstances around her positive drug screen.
And did mother admit or deny?
She denied.
Did she have a reason of why she thought the child tested positive?
Yes, she did.
And what was that reason?
Miss Villarreal had some antibiotics that she had gotten the previous year from Mexico due to some procedures she had, and she felt that those antibiotics had cocaine in them.
Okay, and so mother was taking antibiotics?
Yes.
Okay. And why did mom feel the need to be taking antibiotics?
She had contracted a sexually transmitted infection.
Okay. Was that from dad, or does she know where that was contracted?
Objection, Honor, relevance.
I will tie it back around in a second, Jared.
All right, I'll give you a little bit of leeway.
Yes, ma'am. I'll rephrase you, Ms. Pate. Was dad also taking antibiotics?
Antibiotics were being put in his food. He was not taking the antibiotics on his own free will.
Okay. So, and mom told you that?
Yes.
And how did she say, what did she say in that regards?
That she was crushing up some antibiotics that she had left over from Mexico and was putting it in Mr. Solis's food.
Did she give you any indication that he was aware of that?
No, she said he was not aware when she was doing it.
Okay. So not sure that dad has the same, or if that came from somewhere else. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Were you able to speak with the dad?
Yes.
Okay. You said that he was not at the hospital. Where was he?
I had talked to Mr. Solis later that day on the phone. He said he was in New Mexico and wouldn't be back into Amarillo until after spring break.
Okay. Had he been at the hospital earlier, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, he had been, yes.
Okay. So at some time he had left and allegedly gone to New Mexico.
Yes.
Was he willing to be cooperative with the department?
No, sir. No.
Does he have any Does he believe he is or is not the dad of the child?
Mr. Solis has expressed to me that he feels he is not the dad.
Okay. To you directly, has he asked you for any type of paternity testing, or is he just stating he's not the dad? He doesn't believe he is.
He has asked for paternity testing.
Did he state whether he was willing to cooperate with the department one way or the other, depending on paternity test?
I don't think that I had that conversation with him to that extent. He just wanted to know if he was the father or not.
Okay. But at this time, he's not cooperating and is wanting paternity testing.
Correct.
Okay. Have you been able to meet with him face to face at all?
Yes.
Okay. When was that?
I met with him the day of the removal that morning, and also after we got the orders, I met with him that afternoon.
Okay. So he was back in the town, not in New Mexico anymore.
Correct.
Okay. Have you had any other conversations with mom as far as since the hospital conversation as far as drug use?
I asked her to drug screen as far as, she did comply with the drug screen, but no other conversations regarding any other drug use.
Okay. When did she drug screen for you?
It was after she was released from the hospital. I don't have those dates in front of me when she actually tested.
Have you received the results of those drug screens?
Yes, sir.
And were they positive or negative?
Her UA was negative and her hair was positive for cocaine.
So her hair follicle was positive for the same substance the child was positive for?
Yes.
How is the child doing now?
She's doing well. She's in a foster home in Amarillo, and Miss Villarreal has had a visit with her.
Okay. Have there been any medical issues with the child?
Not that I'm aware of.
Has the department tried to work with any family? Did you try to put in any safety plans or any preventative measures to keep from removing the child?
Yes, I tried.
And what all did you try to do?
I spoke with Miss Villarreal several times. She first gave me the name of a friend that she was going to talk to. I talked with that friend the next day. That friend was a teacher. She had to talk to her husband and her other family members before she could commit to supervising Miss Villarreal and Sophia. I also talked with Miss Villarreal's aunt, and Miss Villarreal. That lady's name is Joanna Garcia. So Miss Garcia works full time, and Miss Garcia thought that one of her friends needed to supervise during the day while Miss Garcia worked. But Miss Villarreal, from what I understand, didn't know that lady.
Okay.
The friend.
Okay. So that didn't work out as far
It did not.
Okay. Any other people you talked to or tried to work with?
When I first met Mr. Solis at the home of Miss Villarreal, he spoke about his mother possibly supervising Miss Villarreal and Sophia, but she didn't have a phone number, she didn't have a vehicle, and she was living in a home that we had concerns about.
Were you given any other names of potential safety placements or anybody else?
After the removal, I got the caregiver resource form back from Miss Villarreal, and she had put a family friend on there, and so I've submitted the home study.
Okay. And is that you said family friend, is it, so they're not a kinship, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. But you have submitted for a home study on a couple?
Yes.
Okay. How long ago was that submitted? Is it last week?
I submitted that on March 21st.
Okay. All right. Do you believe that due to the positive drug screen and the circumstances surrounding mom's excuse for it, do you believe that it was best for removal of the child at the time?
Yes,
You believe it was in that child's best interest?
I do.
Are you asking today for temporary managing conservatorship of the child and for parents to work services?
Yes, I am.
And if the court deems it appropriate, dad asking you for DNA test, is that correct?
Yes.
I'll pass the witness at this time, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Pate, has Ms. Villarreal named any other potential father?
No, she is not, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Archer?
Miss Pate, do you know what caused the hospital to even test the baby for cocaine?
There was a lack of prenatal care, I believe, at the very first of Miss Solis's pregnancy. I mean, Miss Villarreal's pregnancy.
So is it possible that if she was doing drugs, which I'm not saying she ever did, but if she did, is it possible she could have stopped when she found out she was pregnant?
Yes.
And did the baby exhibit any withdrawal symptoms in the hospital?
No.
When mom told you that she thought that it was the antibiotics causing the positive drug screen in the baby, I mean, is this just, she didn't know that? Was she speculating?
I assume she was speculating, yes.
Did she ever offer to give you the pills to test them?
I informed her we couldn't do that since it was from Mexico, from a different country. We couldn't verify what the ingredients were. She did send me a photograph of the prescription through text.
And did she stop using the antibiotics as soon as this became a possibility?
I believe so, yes.
And then is that when you tested her and her urine was negative?
That's correct. Her urine was negative.
Has mother been cooperative with you?
Yes. Yes, she has.
And she did go drug screen every time you've asked her?
Yes.
Does she have other children in the home?
She has other children, but they're not currently in her home.
Okay. And where are they?
They're with their father.
And did you speak to the children?
I did.
Did the children express that Miss Villarreal had ever smoked in front of them or done cocaine in front of them?
No, they made no outcry of that.
Has Miss Villarreal ever had any drug charges?
No.
How was her visit with the baby when she received the visit?
I didn't supervise. St. Francis supervised. From what I understand, it went well.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Ball?
Hey, if placement reports that the baby is having 3 to 4 tremors a day, would you have any information about that?
No, ma'am, I don't.
Would you have any reason to disagree with placement?
No.
When you spoke to Miss Villarreal, although she denied knowingly using cocaine during pregnancy, did she admit to knowingly using other drugs during pregnancy?
Yes, she admitted to using marijuana.
When did she say that she stopped that?
Approximately 2 months before delivery.
And why did she say she stopped at that time?
She said she didn't want anybody to think she was a bad parent.
But she knew she was pregnant when she was smoking the marijuana.
Yes, ma'am.
When you were talking to Miss Villarreal about the antibiotics, back up. When you told her that the baby was positive for cocaine, what was her response?
The hospital had previously told her about the baby testing positive for cocaine, so she was already aware by the time I talked to her about it, and that's when she talked to me about the antibiotics.
And what made her think that cocaine was in the antibiotics?
I do not know, ma'am.
Did she talk to you about years ago using cocaine? Not right now, not when she was pregnant.
Yes, she did.
Okay. And did she say that she knew that how cocaine made her feel?
Yes, she made that statement to me.
And did she say, these antibiotics did not make me feel that way?
Miss Villarreal was very emotional when I was talking to her about that, due to, just having the baby and learning of the positive drug screen. Miss Villarreal did admit to using cocaine, I believe when she was 21 years old. And she didn't say anything about it making those antibiotics making her feel any differently.
Is it standard, if you know, is it procedure for the hospital to drug test a child when they have not received prenatal care?
I don't have any for sure knowledge of if that's standard procedure or not.
At some point during her pregnancy, Miss Villarreal did get some prenatal care, correct?
Yes.
And was it at that time that she discovered that she had the sexually transmitted infection?
Yes, that's what she told me.
Okay. She learned that as a direct result of a doctor's visit,
Yes.
but instead of asking that doctor to treat it, she used an old prescription from a year before?
With the information that she gave me, I'm assuming that's what she did.
Did she state why she didn't seek treatment from the doctor who actually gave her this information?
I don't recall.
I pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Trout.
Nothing further from this witness, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Archer, do you have any further questions for her?
Yeah, just two. Ms. Pate, does the department remove children from marijuana use on a parent?
We can.
But is it unusual?
It's not as often as other drugs.
Is it possible that the marijuana that Ms. Villarreal admitted to smoking was laced with cocaine? Is it possible?
Objection,
It's possible.
speculation, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll pass the witness.
Okay,
Yes, ma'am. Withdrawn.
okay, all right. Okay, any further questions for Ms. Pate?
I do. Ms. Pate, we're not removing here for marijuana, are we?
No, we're not.
We're removing for cocaine, correct?
That is correct.
That a newborn baby tested positive for.
Yes.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Archer, any further questions?
Oh, no, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Zavala, anything further?
No, Your Honor.
Anybody object to Ms. Pate being released?
No
No
objection.
objection.
No objection.
All right, Ms. Pate, thank you for your time today. You're free to go.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Chatch, you can call your next witness.
Call Ms. Villarreal. And Ms. Villarreal, are you the mother of Sophia?
Yes, I am.
You've been here throughout the other testimony, is that correct?
Yes, I have.
And there was a question asked a while ago of when you were told you had or diagnosed with a STI, why did that doctor not prescribe you medication? Can you answer that question?
The doctor did prescribe medication,
Okay.
but only for one of us.
Okay. For one of who?
So, my partner wasn't prescribed the medication, so we kept testing positive for the STD.
And you said we kept testing. So is he testing also?
Actually, not that my knowledge. I kept testing. I'm sorry. I kept testing positive.
Okay. So did you take the original antibiotic that was prescribed?
Yes.
And then you started taking the medicine you had left over from Mexico?
Yes.
Were they the same antibiotic?
No.
So you were taking, while pregnant, you were taking a medication that you weren't sure how it would affect the child?
Not necessarily, because it was still an antibiotic.
But all antibiotics are not the same, are they?
Correct.
So no doctor prescribed that medicine for you while you were pregnant?
While I was pregnant, no.
Okay. So you weren't sure how that would, if it would or would not affect the baby? Did you ever ask any doctor?
I never did.
Do you believe, now you gave the name of Mr. Dominic Salas, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. And you believe he's the father?
I do.
Okay. Is that the only person you think could be the father?
No,
Okay. Do you have any other names of people that we need to look at?
I don't know them personally.
Okay. Not even first name, last name, don't know anything, any name at all?
No, I went out of town weekend before we got back together.
Okay. Were you actually giving Dominic medications through his food?
Yes,
He knew nothing of this.
he did not.
Do you think that is safe to medicate somebody without their knowledge?
I do not.
But at the time, you thought it was okay to take medication while pregnant that wasn't prescribed by a doctor. Is that correct?
Yes,
And to also medicate somebody else without them being prescribed or to their knowledge.
yes.
I'll pass the witness at this time, Your Honor. Actually, I'm sorry, Judge. I apologize. I got a couple more questions. Ms. Villarreal, when's the last time you used cocaine?
I have never purposely used cocaine. The last time that I took a pill that I thought had cocaine was the night before or the evening before I gave birth.
Now, didn't you admit to my investigator that you used cocaine when you were 21?
Oh, yes, sir.
So you have purposely used cocaine before?
I have.
Why do you think a pill you took had cocaine in it?
Because that's the only foreign substance that I taken since being pregnant.
And you think, and when was that? When did you say that was?
The last time?
Yes, that you took that pill.
It was the evening before I gave birth.
Okay. So your story is that the evening before you gave birth, you took one pill and now you and the baby tested positive for cocaine.
No, you asked me when the last time I took it. That was the last time.
I know, but that's what you're saying is that's the only way that cocaine got in your system?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. And was that one of the pills from Mexico?
It was.
When did you start taking those pills?
I started taking them once I was notified by the doctor that I had an STI. STD.
This was the reoccurrence?
Yes.
Okay. How long ago had that been?
I'm not sure the exact date.
Okay. So were you taking the antibiotics from Mexico for a month, 2 weeks, a week? Like how long had you been taking that medicine?
I'm gonna say more than a month. I'm not too sure exactly. On and off. I mean, not consecutively, but on and off.
How many pills did you have left over from a year ago?
I'm gonna say I had maybe a packet and a half. I'm not sure exactly how many are in each one.
And when you say a packet and a half, they're not in a bottle, they're in a full pack or something?
Yes.
Okay. Were you supposed to take all of those a year ago when you came back from Mexico?
No, he had prescribed me for another year because I'm not able to travel back and forth out of the country.
Did any of the other pills in any of those packs make you feel like you had used cocaine?
No.
Did that one pill make you feel like you'd used cocaine?
No.
So why do you think it was the pill you took the day before you had the baby?
Like I said, it was the only foreign substance that could possibly contain anything having cocaine.
Okay. You know what the effects of, you've used cocaine before, so you know what the effects make you feel like.
Yes, sir.
And at any time taking that medication, did you ever feel like that?
No.
But you're sticking to you have not used cocaine anytime throughout the pregnancy.
Yes, sir.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Archer?
And as far as these antibiotics containing cocaine, this is just your theory. You don't really know why you're testing positive. Is that your statement?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you take the antibiotics because you're trying to protect yourself and the baby?
Yes, ma'am.
So you had good intentions when you took the antibiotics.
Yes, I did.
I'll pass the witness.
Ms. Zavala?
You had a doctor you were seeing for the condition, correct?
Correct.
And so there was no discussion with that doctor when you started taking those?
There was not.
No, you said it had to be those pills because it's the only foreign substance I've used while pregnant. Is that true?
Correct.
Okay, so when you were using the marijuana during pregnancy, that wasn't a foreign substance that you were putting into your body?
That was before my late prenatal care, yes.
So you said you stopped using that 2 months before giving birth?
No, Miss Pate said that.
Oh, okay, so when did you stop using the marijuana?
Whenever I found out I was pregnant.
So there was suggested earlier that possibly that their marijuana could have been laced. Did you hear that?
I did.
Was it your choice to take that marijuana that may have possibly had something in it?
Yes, it was.
I pass witness.
Anything further?
Yes, ma'am, a couple questions. Ms. Villarreal, you said you tested positive, the doctor gave you antibiotics. You took those antibiotics and you had a reoccurrence, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that reoccurrence was diagnosed by a doctor.
It was.
Okay. Did the second doctor not give you a new prescription?
It was the same doctor, and yes, it was refilled.
Okay. Did you take those?
I did.
And then you started taking the medication from another country?
Correct. My partner was not cured.
Okay. Did your partner was not what?
Cured.
Did he have it?
I'm assuming if it reoccurred, yes.
Okay, so you don't know if he had it or not because y'all never talked about it.
I'm not a doctor, sir.
Correct, but you were self-medicating yourself and your partner.
Yes, was prescribed by a doctor.
No further questions. I'll pass away to Sharon.
All right, Ms. Archer, anything further?
I'll follow up. Ms. Villarreal, are you asking the court today to return the baby to you?
I am.
And do you feel like you can keep the baby safe?
I do.
And have you cooperated with the department?
Yes.
And did you go drug test when they asked you to?
Yes.
I have no further questions.
Okay, Ms. Zavala?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Trout, anything else from this witness?
Nothing further at this time, Your Honor.
All right. Any further witnesses?
No further witnesses, Your Honor.
All right, do you rest?
I'd rest, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Archer?
I'd like to call Jillian
May proceed.
Villarreal. How long have you known Sierra?
Since I was 14.
And were you married at some point?
Yes.
Do you have kids together?
Yes, we have 2.
And are you separated or divorced?
We're divorced officially.
Do you still have a cordial relationship with her, a friendly one?
Yes, I do. And we co-parent.
Okay. Who has the primary custody? Or
I
is it
do.
joint? And is there an official court document? Do you have a divorce decree setting out your arrangements?
Yes, I have a divorce decree. So I'm the primary custodian. The residents of the children reside with me. And in the decree, we do 1 week on, 1 week off.
Do you feel like when your kids are with Sierra that they're safe?
Yes, I do.
Do you feel like they're always clean when they are returned to your care?
Yes.
Are they always appropriately clothed?
Yes, they're dressed really nice when they come home from school.
Have the kids ever mentioned feeling unsafe when they're with mom?
Never.
Have they ever mentioned that she smokes pot or anything in front of them?
Never.
Is she able to get them at school on time? I mean, have you ever had any complaints from the school about her?
No, I haven't.
Do you feel like, do you have any part in this case?
No, I don't.
And do you think that this, just to clarify for the court, is the baby that we were talking about your baby?
No.
Do you feel like the baby would be safe if placed back in Sierra's care?
I do.
I'll pass the witness.
Mr. Scott?
Mr. Villarreal, you've heard the testimony today,
Yes, sir, I have.
and you heard the testimony of Ms. Villarreal, self-medicating while pregnant,
Yes, I have.
baby testing positive for cocaine,
Yes.
mom's hair follicle being positive for cocaine,
Yes.
and her medicating somebody without their knowledge.
Correct.
And you believe that this is somebody safe to put a baby with right now?
I believe that she's trying to do everything to get her baby, and my kids have never had any
Objection,
issues.
Your Honor. Non-responsive.
Sustained. Okay, Mr. Villarreal, just answer the question that he's asked you.
Yes, I do. I do.
With all those things said and admitted to, you believe that is a safe environment right now?
I'm sorry?
I said, with all of that has been admitted to, you still think it's a safe environment to put a newborn baby in?
Yes, I do.
Is there any sort of safety plan in place with you, mom, and the children besides the divorce decree?
No.
Has that been talked about? Has anybody discussed that with you?
Yes, I believe I don't know if that's the same CPS lady, but she did notify me of that.
Okay. Is that something you would be willing to do?
For my own kids?
For your own children, yes.
No.
Okay. Is that because you're still willing to send the children unsupervised to mom?
Yes.
Even knowing there's a possibility she's using illegal substances and
Yes.
medicating somebody without their knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Mr. Villarreal, how old are your children?
They are 6 years old, the daughter, and 12 years old, the son.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Ms. Archer, you have any questions? Any other questions? Or I'm sorry, Ms. Vala. I didn't mean to skip you, Ms. Vala.
No questions, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Archer, any other questions?
No, no questions.
Okay, Mr. Trout, anything further?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right. All right, then. Ms. Archer, do you have any further witnesses?
Is Christopher Chacon in the waiting room?
He is.
I'd like to call him.
All right. Okay, Ms. Archer, he isn't connecting. I don't know if you want to try to reach out to him.
Your Honor, I think we can proceed without him. His testimony was similar to what we just heard.
All right, then. Because we're so far behind, I'm going to go ahead and move forward then. Okay, so Ms. Archer, do you rest?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, Ms. Vala.
Your Honor, I have no witnesses. I rest.
All right, Ms. Vala, do you have a recommendation today?
Yes, Your Honor. It is my recommendation that Sophia remain in the temporary managing conservatorship of the department. That is in the best interest for her and her safety. She is receiving regular medical care and is showing about 3 to 4 tremors a day, but placement is on top of what she needs for that.
I'm going to find that the evidence is sufficient to name the department as temporary managing conservator of the child and find that there's a continuing and ongoing danger to return the child home at this time, specifically so that Ms. Villarreal knows what my concerns are. Ms. Villarreal, I mean, I think you've made some very, what I would call kind of poor decisions, particularly being pregnant, taking a medication that was not being currently prescribed to you during a pregnancy, also a medication that's coming from outside of this country where we all know we've got no control over the quality of those medications. It's very widespread in the news and has been for well over a year now that people in this country are cautioned not to take prescription drugs coming out of Mexico because more of a concern about fentanyl. But nevertheless, you were taking a medication that was not prescribed to you during your pregnancy. You were seeing an attending physician for your condition. There's just, I find no reason why you couldn't have continued to seek treatment through that attending physician. So, it sort of does not add up. And as a result, we've got an infant who was born positive for cocaine, which is very dangerous for a baby, very dangerous for their cardiovascular system. And the child is already suffering some sort of residual effects from that by having these tremors. Hopefully that will diminish with time and the child will, suffer no long-term effect because of that. I want the department to work with you for a while. I have a feeling that you can work through these things, that you can be successful and hopefully learn maybe what is a very painful lesson about your choices. But I think you could use some professional intervention. I definitely want, an OSAR done, and I want some counseling done and some things like that, drug treatment, education type things, so that moving forward, you would not be inclined to make these same mistakes again. So I think you can probably move quickly through this case as long as you stay in touch with your attorney and stay in touch with the caseworker that'll be assigned to you. And, I wish you the best for quick success, but I think there's a little bit of work that can be done here. So I do want to go ahead and order the genetic testing on Mr. Salas. Sounds like he has made a pretty good request for that. So let's go ahead and get on that. And, we might as well put that issue to rest as well. So, I urge you to talk with your attorney about the identity of any other potential father, whatever information you may have, you should provide to your attorney and or to the department for that matter. But anyway, I'll see you back for your status hearing on May 9th of 2024. That'll be on a 9:00 docket. And between now and then, they will sit down with you and talk to you about services and what they want you to do. I would just ask that the department, I think, focus in on what the real issues are here and when making a service plan. Okay, then I'll see you back May 9th. All right, thank y'all.
Thank you, Judge.
For our status hearing, we're conducting this through Zoom. We are live streaming and Ms. Taylor's making our record. Okay, we'll take announcements.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Mickey Lane is my primacy specialist. We're present, ready, Your Honor.
Oh, Natalie Archer for the mother.
Stacy Zaballo on behalf of Sophia.
Okay. Ms. Lane, anything new since the court report was filed?
There's some ongoing concerns with Sophia's health related to acid reflux causing her to choke, some severe allergies. She was actually taken to urgent care last night for her breathing, and concerns of possibly being re-exposed to drugs during visitation. Sophia has a doctor's appointment on the 13th, which I will attend to verify through a physician what all is going on with Sophia.
Have we gotten drug tests on parents?
The father in the case, I have not, or possible father, I have not had any contact with. The mother in the case has completed her psychological. She has drug screened 3 times so far. 2 were observed UAs, which were negative, and then a strand, which came back for 4,000 in cocaine metabolite. But she is not in court today, Your Honor, because she had a class this morning for us.
Okay. But so she's cooperating and engaged. So
Yes, ma'am.
engaged in services. I'll clarify that. Okay. All right. She signed her service plan.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. I was just supposed to say that, Judge. Service plans were signed on April 24th. They were filed on May 6th. Service plans for Dad were filed yesterday, or came through this morning, but have been filed.
Okay. But we've had no contact with him at all.
No, ma'am. He was
Okay.
personally served at the beginning back in March, but I don't believe anybody's been able to locate him since.
Okay. Okay, Ms. Archer, anything today?
I wondered if, well, Mom did let me know that she wouldn't be here, that she'd be taking that class, and she does want to fully comply. I did wonder what the caseworker meant about visitation. Can she clarify about, she said something about concern on drug use, but Mom's tested negative.
Yeah, Sophia is showing some difficulties after visitation, which ECI evaluator had noted some concerns, but honestly, without a physician verifying and double checking what's causing maybe she has constrictions really bad and she shakes. She also won't go to sleep for several hours after those visits. So we're trying to determine what the issue is with Sophia.
Okay, thank you. That's really all I have to report, Judge, is that Mom is being fully compliant and we signed off on the on everything for today. So
Would Mom have any objection to, at least in the next few visits, till we can kind of get a handle on this, masking up and gloving so that there's no skin to skin contact and maybe not, close respiratory contact?
I think she would be willing to do whatever it takes to just maintain visitation.
Yeah. Okay. Let's just do that and make sure that we don't have something like that going on.
Okay, I'll let her know.
The baby's, kind of struggling as it is with allergies and other things. So, it's just, it may be a way just to eliminate it, Ms. Archer, that, it's not, but okay. All right, Ms. Zavala?
Your Honor, I had no questions. My only concern was kind of Sophia's health. Placement is on top of getting that looked at. Some of the stiffness and things kind of look like they could be withdrawal. I am in agreement that we need a medical evaluation on her, and that is in place. And my concern was just making sure that we stay on top of drug testing for Mom, to make sure that there's no re-exposure. But that's been addressed.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, she's engaging in services. I mean, the UAs have been negative. I mean, I really don't want to take visitation away at this point, but let's just put that safety protocol into play until, we can either eliminate that or, she's got a clean hair or I don't mean to go overboard with it, but, let's just see if that makes any difference. Okay, then I'm going to continue the department as temporary managing conservator and continue the child's current placement. I will find there's a continuing danger to return the child home today. I'm going to order the service plans as an order of the court, and we'll go ahead and ask Mom to please mask up and glove, long sleeves so that we know we don't have skin to skin contact for at least a little while till we get some kind of medical opinion at least. And then, we will have our next hearing on September 3rd of 2024. That'll be on a 9 o'clock docket. And Ms. Archer just reinforced to her that, that's, it's just kind of an abundance of caution and hopefully to eliminate that's, that whatever with mother is not the cause of anything.
Sure. And then as soon as they figure out the cause, we can reassess, correct?
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you all so very much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
And Your Honor, I think you may have said that Shorten's in the waiting room. When she comes in, I would love to have a breakout room with her, and I think that could be with St. Francis as well.
Sure, Mr. Jackson. He's never going to let it down
Never.
because we're not going to let him.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, folks. We've got attorneys and department people talking in breakout rooms, so we'll be with you in a few minutes as soon as they all finish talking.
Okay.
We'll talk about that here in just a minute. And we are conducting this through Zoom under finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We're live streaming, and Ms. Taylor is making our record. Okay, we got so many people. I'm going to go ahead and just make the announcements. Mr. Trout is present for the Department of Family and Protective Services. Ms. Zavala is present on behalf of the child. Ms. Archer is present on behalf of the mother, Vanessa Williams. And I do not see Ms. Williams present. Ms. Grant is present on behalf of an alleged father, Landon Turner. I do not have him present. Ms. Kincaid is present on behalf of an alleged father, Miles Watkins. He is not present. Mr. Hill is present on behalf of an alleged father, Nick Langham. Mr. Langham is not present. Ms. Sapien is here on behalf of an alleged father, Justin Edwards. Mr. Edwards is not logged in. And Ms. Lucero is here representing the unknown father. Obviously, unknown father is not present. Okay, I think that's gotten everybody other than Mr. Morales, who represents an alleged father, Bryce Ains. And neither Mr. Morales or Mr. Ains are present at this time. All right, so in reviewing the report for today's hearing, it appeared that at that time we did get genetic testing done on one of the alleged fathers. I think that was on Mr. Langham. That would be Mr. Hill's client.
No, Your Honor, on Landon Turner, which Ms. Grant's.
I'm sorry. Okay. All right. So it was on Mr. Turner.
Yes, ma'am.
And at the time of reading that report, we didn't have the results. I just suggested that for, we've got so many people involved in this case that for everybody's, economy of time, we should possibly wait and try to get that back before we proceeded on our dismissal date. Is set for March 29th. However, I suggested maybe we should just call and recess. So has something new developed on that, Mr. Trout?
It has, Your Honor. Actually, while we were in our earlier hearings, the DNA report came back. And it actually just got filed into the case, but it came back that Landon Turner is not the father. And so I didn't know, since we had all agreed and we're going to wait, call and recess, I didn't put everything together on this.
Yeah,
I can probably get through it if we need to, if you want to go ahead and do it and dismiss Mr. Turner and Ms. Grant and then go ahead, but we don't have Mr. Morales, so.
well, he's just now logging in.
Okay.
Counsel, I had given a clear indication that we probably weren't going to move forward today so that we could try to simplify the case, depending on the results of that. So I suppose it's been simplified, by a fractional interest here. So if let me just pull those up. I don't know whether any of you've had time to even look at it, but I'm pulling up. So
I'll let Ms. Grant and Mr. Hill know about it. That's what I talked to them about earlier.
All right. So
I know it's been filed, Judge, but since I'm traveling, I have not had a chance to view it, but I've been notified.
You were breaking up, Ms. Grant. We couldn't hear the last part of what you said.
My apologies, Judge. I was just stating that I've been notified by Mr. Trout that since I'm traveling, I haven't viewed it yet, but I am aware.
Okay. So the genetic testing would reflect that he has been excluded as the biological father of the child. So at this time, the one thing I am comfortable doing is dismissing Mr. Turner, Landon Turner, from the case, and Ms. Grant as his attorney. And then we'll discuss whether we want to move forward today or if everybody needs to have a pretty short reset of this, we can do that. But I realize that most of you were under the impression that we weren't going to probably be moving forward today. So Ms. Grant, at this time, I will dismiss Mr. Turner and you from the case, and you will be free to go.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. All right. Okay, counsel, you all just tell me. I'll go with whatever y'all want to do. If you want to push forward, we can. If we need to reset to a different day, we'll do that, since I'm the one that sort of initiated this whole discussion. We'll call and just recess, but we'll call and take a little bit of testimony and recess, but we can reset.
Your Honor, if I may, I'm actually at a drug court conference in Dallas, and I thought we were going to be recessing this, so I am a little bit pressed for time, but
yeah,
you know, I can make it work.
I understand, and you've been in the waiting room almost an hour now waiting because we've been so behind. We had several contested cases this morning, so my apologies. All right, based on that alone, we'll call this real quickly, take some brief testimony. I'm going to have Ms. Katie put some dates in the chat. Everybody will kind of watch that and respond to her. So let's see if we can't pick a day that will work for everybody. There's so many of you. I know this may be tricky. So I am not anticipating that this will take, half a day or anything. Mr. Trout, are you?
No, ma'am. And just so everyone knows, I mean, mom has relinquished, so we'll be proving that up, and everybody else is alleged dads. So it's not a whole lot there. I don't think there's been any contact with any of the other dads.
Okay.
So it shouldn't take very long.
Okay. So we'll look for about 45 minutes, maybe somewhere to.
I would think it's most.
Okay, then, Mr. Trout, if you want to call your first witness.
Call Rodolfo Flores. And Mr. Flores, are you familiar with the case we're discussing today involving the child?
Yes, I am.
And how are you familiar with that case?
I was the investigator for the department during the case.
And you are employed by the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services?
That is correct.
As a investigator?
Correct.
And how long have you been in that role?
I've been here 8 years.
Did you, at your initial investigation, did you find out who the mother of the child was?
Yes, I did.
And did the mother give you names that could possibly be father?
She did provide me one name at the time.
At the time, it was just one?
Correct.
Okay. Your Honor, I don't know how far you want me to go, or?
Just
a little more.
That's fine. I mean, I see everybody trying to respond, so I'm just trying to give time for us to settle on a date.
And I'm good with any of the dates any of the other attorneys can get to, Your Honor. I'll make.
Ms. Katie, let's plan to put that number 1 on the docket. Since we've got so many folks involved, let's do it. That way they'll know we're going to start at 9. We'll get them in and out of here and be done.